Good evening, Lake Erie Council. Welcome to our Cub Scout Summer Camp Touchpoint meeting. We're going to bring some more folks that are waiting here in our Zoom in, and we'll just remind everybody that you can ask questions and comments in the Facebook comment box. We'll try and get to everything tonight here live. And folks that are coming in through our Zoom call, we're going to have you guys stay on mute. We'll give you the chance to ask some questions and things. Just to go ahead and put your hand up in Zoom here if you've got a question. We'll try and go through our main portion of our meeting tonight rather quickly. That way we have plenty of time at the end for questions and things. But let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Jared Bundy. I'm the camp director out at Firelands Scout Reservation. And you'll meet the rest of our team here in a second. But we wanted to invite everybody to our Cub Scout pre-camp leader meeting where we normally kind of go over the program for the summer and some things that are changing there and the fun activities, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, but we didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to talk to everybody about some of the changes coming due to COVID-19 and give everybody an opportunity to ask some questions and get some concerns out in front of us so that we know how to address those going forward. So I know there's a lot of uncertainty, but we want to do our best to be prepared for the summer. We're still working really hard to make sure we have a great summer camp season. And we're going to talk about some of those great things come up here tonight. So again, those who are joining us here via Zoom, if you guys don't mind staying on mute, but we'll try and get everybody's questions answered here at the end. Well, let's go ahead and meet our team here. We've got, 6 or 7 of us here that are working really specifically on the Cub Scout programs. Again, my name is Jared Bundy. Let's pass it over to Brittany.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Dunn. I am the director of the Cub Scout programs out at Beaumont Scout Reservation this summer. And then Lori.
I'm Lori Bott, and I'm the director for Adventure Camp at Beaumont.
Pass it over to Brittany.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Dunn. I am the director.
Is that me next?
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Coker. You all know me as Cub Scout Coker, and I'm the program director at Fireland Scout Reservation.
I'm Lori Bott, and I'm the director for Adventure Camp at Beaumont.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natalie, and I'll be the assistant program director out at Firelands this summer.
I'm Christy Bartley, and I'm a volunteer on the planning committee.
Phil, you're muted.
Yeah, I muted myself. Oliver was making a little bit of noise in the background here. I'm Phil Williams. I'm the director of camping service for Lake Erie Council and the Beaumont Scout Reservation camp director.
Awesome. So our guests that are joining us, I'm actually going to stop your guys' video so that we can kind of focus on the folks that are answering some of the questions here, but we'll bring you back in when it's time to ask some of those questions. So you might see yourself pop out of those. Looks like we do have some people watching on Facebook, which is great. Welcome, everybody. Well, let's go ahead and get started with our kind of informational session for this evening. So we are still working hard to plan a great summer camp program for everybody this summer. We have a couple different programs that are going on, including our adventure camp and our Weebles exploration camp. And we'll go specifically into those camps in just a few minutes. But for anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to hear about it, our adventure camp is a little bit new this summer with a choose your own adventure option. So we have both day camp options and overnight camp options, plus a full week option. So there's a little bit of camp for everybody. And then our Weebles exploration camp is specifically for those bears and weebles that are going into Weebles and Arrow of Light later this fall. And that's a program designed specifically for them to help them transition into a Scouts BSA troop. It's our 4th year doing that program. We're really proud of it and hoping to have our biggest summer yet. But before we get into all the specifics, I'm going to toss this over to Phil, who's going to talk a little bit about the announcements that we've had the past few weeks from our Scout Executive, Mark Ryan, and kind of what to expect going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. If you are watching on Facebook or if you're watching here, please feel free to either put your, do we have the chat active, Jared, or did you turn that off?
We do have the chat active, yes.
So please feel free to enter your questions into the chat while I'm speaking here or onto Facebook Live so that we can get those answered as it relates to COVID-19 while I won't be here for the entire meeting. So if you have any of those questions, please feel free to input them now. So obviously things are kind of interesting right now. Most of us are at home trying to avoid contact and the potential spread of the virus. That has been directed by our governor and our state health department. And so Lake Erie Council is sort of following those same recommendations. As you probably saw, if you are connected with the email, constant contact email system, you would have received an email on Friday from our Scout executive detailing some of the procedures and policies that we're going to be putting into place to ensure the safety of our Scouts, ensure the safety of our staff and our families who are attending camp. Now, all of that being said, those are really designed as we are assuming that camp is moving forward with no changes. Now, there are potentially changes that might come in the future. And what we've committed to is that every 2 weeks, so the next time being May 1st, we'll check in with people and let them know that if there's been any changes, and certainly if there's any programs that you've signed up for that are directly affected, you'll also receive notification directly about those. We are monitoring what the state health department, what the governor has directed, and so we are following those recommendations in order to be able to make sure that we are in compliance and following a safe procedure for our campers. Now, some folks have asked the question, you know, does it make sense to maybe look at doing adventure camp or Webelos exploration camp? Is there a modified summer schedule? And yes, that might occur. We don't have those answers yet. We are looking into that as a possibility. We're not going to hold any kind of program that we feel, and by we, I don't mean just me, Jared, Brittany, Natalie, Lori, Alex, and Christy. I don't mean just the group of us that we have a feeling. I mean, we're going to do some risk assessment to determine if we feel that we can open camp and operate in a safe manner. So we're only going to operate if it's that we're doing it safely. So if we determine, hey, we're going to need a couple extra weeks to get ready to do this, this, and this, we're going to keep you guys informed of that. And I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on that and everybody understands that. In the meantime, one of the concerns that has been brought up in particular with our Cub Scout Adventure Camp program is that we've got, it's a day camping program. So people are coming in and out, in and out, in and out. So even if we do those screening procedures as we have laid out in the email that came out from Mark, there's still a potential for a lot of contact from the outside with those Scouts and those families that are attending adventure camp. So we're potentially looking just proactively at maybe moving adventure camp back a little bit because we want to make sure that we're doing that during the safest time frame. Now, fortunately, for both of our camp properties, we have that flexibility where it's not running into something else that's going on. So that may be something that we do. And to that effect, we're going to be sending out a survey to ask our families who typically sign up for adventure camp if that is something that would be helpful for them, help them feel better about the situation, and really just give us a little more time to make sure that that we are as prepared as possible. Like I said before, though, I want to reiterate, we're not going to hold something unless we are prepared. So we're not gonna come into camp with without a great plan to make sure that our Scouts are safe. And to that effect, we've been working really strongly with our council health supervisor, who's a physician at the Cleveland Clinic, to develop policies where we can make sure that our Scouts are safe. So in the coming days, look forward to maybe getting a survey that asks you about if a date change would be helpful to you, or if it would work in your schedule for particularly the Adventure Camp program, so that we can be a little proactive about that, particularly thinking about the daytime nature of that program. I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat or any hands pop up, Jared. Has there been any questions on Facebook?
Just one about medical forms, but I know we're going to cover that question a little bit later when we talk about that in their screening process.
Okay, perfect. Well, if there are any questions that anybody on this call has that you can think of either now or that come to you later, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, we are making sure that we are working with our council health supervisor. We're monitoring what the state puts out to make sure that we are offering a safe camp program. And in addition, we're getting ready right now. So we're not planning to punt down the field and say, well, we might have camp, we may not. We are planning right now that we are having camp. And to that effect, we're making sure that we have, we're going to have hand sanitizer stations in places that you haven't seen them before, additional hand washing stations. We're really trying to make sure that even in the environment that we come into, we know that things aren't going to be normal coming out of this, that we provide a safe environment for all of our scouts and families.
We do have one question about registration fees and refunds. So I'm going to bring David Francois up on here. So David, you are unmuted if you want to ask your question. Says he doesn't have a camera. Can you hear us, David? If you want to shoot us the question via text, we can answer it that way as well. So we'll come back to that. Anything else? Anything else from you specifically, Phil?
I think that coming out of this, it's going to be really important for our kids to get out to camp and to see their friends and spend time socially. I know that we're going to have social distancing requirements and making sure that we stay healthy, but there's been quite a bit of stunting in terms of our social interaction. I know even for me personally, I'm an extrovert, and this has been really hard during this time to not like be able to stop by somebody's desk and say, "Hey, how's it going?" and shoot the breeze. It's going to be important for our scouts, in particular, all of our kids, to really have those social interactions. So we feel that we can provide a safe place to do that, as well as providing the scouting program, which is so awesome that I think all of us know that. And so we really feel that that is, even if it ends up being later in the summer, we feel that camp is going to be really important for our scouts as a way of rekindling those connections. I know that even my 4-year-old son, who at the beginning of this was really excited about being at home, being with mom and dad, who we both work. He's even starting to get a little bit like, I kind of want to go to school. I want to see my friends. So it's going to be really important for all of our scouts and families, for those boys and girls, young men and young women, to see people and have interactions. And so I would encourage, I know that it can be a scary time, but to think about that those social interactions are important too. And we're going to consider the health factor, and we're going to make sure that we are providing a safe environment for our families.
Absolutely. So David did his question into us, and this is something that was somewhat addressed by Mark's email with the parents currently out of work, not having the ability to register now. And we looked at a payment plan extension. You talk a little bit about our early bird, our camperships, and how we're working with families in that regard.
Yeah, that's a great question. So early bird and what that means has sort of been thrown out the window. We are willing to work with any family, any pack, if there's interest in getting to camp. we're going to work with you to make sure that, we're not necessarily enforcing a late fee at this time, because we know that this is a particularly hard time for a lot of families. To that end, camperships as well, the deadline was extended to April 15th. Obviously, that has come and passed. Campership application has been reopened. So we will take a first crack at all of those people who have applied for camperships up until April 15th, and they will receive sort of a first priority. But then any sort of, there's usually money that's left over in that bucket. So anything that comes in after that April 15th, so lecbsa.org/camperships, you can apply, and we will do our best to meet that need. We don't want any scout not being able to go to camp because they can't afford it. So we're going to work. We have a donor network too of people that are interested in sending kids to camp. And so even if we get to that point where that campership fund looks like it's going to get depleted, we're going to be doing our best to try and get more money to get more kids to camp. So I know that you may not know right now, David, that you may not be sure if your kids can go right now or kids in the troop, but we encourage you, even if you sign up and you can't necessarily put money down, it lets us know you're interested, and whatever we can do to help, we want to be able to help get those scouts to camp for that experience.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I would mention there is, while you'll still see the early bird and late payment dates posted, and those are things that are kind of built into our registration process. Like Phil said, if there's any families that need to work with us, just reach out and we'll be happy to talk. And then the other thing that David mentioned to us is about any refunds. And if you saw Mark's email on Friday, you'll see that we have a 100% hassle-free refund policy is related to the COVID-19. So if we have to cancel, obviously we'll be refunding money at that point. But if there are families that are uncomfortable and have already put money down, again, reach out and we'll work with you.
Let me just add one more thing to that, Jared, and not to belabor this, because I know we've been talking about 20 minutes about this. The other big thing that I want to encourage here is that when we get into Adventure Camp or Weebless Camp or even Scouts BSA Resident Camp, there's going to be procedures in place where we ask you to, do an honest assessment if anybody in the family has felt any symptoms, 2 weeks prior to coming to camp. And if we get into a situation where somebody arrives at camp with somebody arrives at camp with a temperature, that's not great. That's not a great situation to be in. So we encourage you to be proactive about that. And even if it comes to the Friday before camp, or maybe it's even the Saturday or Sunday before camp, and you call us and say, hey, Johnny came down with a temperature and I don't think he can come to camp, we'll refund that. But we're going to put some teeth on that, is that if you show up with a temperature, a refund is not necessarily going to be available to you, because we don't want to expose people if we can avoid it. So feel free to take care of, or feel free to utilize the policy, the generous refund policy, if somebody is sick ahead of time, or even on the morning of, like, let's say it's Monday morning, you're going to Adventure Camp. You take Johnny's temperature. He's got a fever of 101.2. Don't send him, right? Like, let's use some good sense here, and we'll take care of you for that. If Johnny gets to camp and has a fever of 102 when he gets out of the car, that's when we're gonna not consider that refund. So please be conscious about that when sending your kids to camp, because we want to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe, including Johnny.
And one last question, I think, before we kind of move on into the next section of our presentation here, from Mr. Milam. As a Cub Master, with all the uncertainty about camp and what sounds like a pass on late fees, what reasoning should I give to my families to sign up now instead of waiting for the activity? And this is something that you mentioned earlier about wanting to, it helps us to plan, especially now as we're hiring staff and making our orders, to know what kind of interest is out there. And if we find out 2 weeks before camp that we only saw 10% of the people that were interested in camp, that doesn't work out as far as putting on a successful program. So even by putting your name down on that list now without a full payment, that helps us to know what to expect come this summer. Awesome. All right.
All right, Jared, I'm going to sign off. If folks have more questions for me, if you can give them my email at the end, Jared, so that they can reach out to me.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Phil. All right. So moving on to the next section of our program, we wanted to make sure that if there are folks out there that haven't signed up for camp but are still interested in attending, that we give a little bit of an overview of the programs that we're providing. So if there's any program related questions, we can answer those as well. So I'm going to toss this over to Brittany, who's going to talk a little bit about some specific updates regarding logistics and some different program points for this summer. I'm also going to share a screen so those that are following along at home can kind of see what we're talking about in case the audio isn't great. But take it away, Brittany.
Sure, thanks, Jared. So this year we have a few updates, but those updates that we've made are quite large in the process of how we do our adventure camp. So we are actually doing advancement by den. So each of the dens will be spread and split up by their rank. So bears will be with bears, wolves will be with wolves, etc. So that they can focus on the advancement and get a start on what their program for the year. We'll be doing mostly camp-focused advancement as we go along each day. Then also another change from this year, which is a little different, is staff-led. So in the past, it's been a lot of relying on a lot of parents, and when they get there, they have to learn what they're doing. By having the staff, we were able to have a consistency in each of the programs that we're offering, and it gives them a little bit of time to prepare themselves for what's coming and what they're doing throughout the week with the kids at Adventure Camp. We still highly welcome, and we still love parents to come and adult partners. If you're a tiger parent, we still need that adult partner. But that's if it's a lion, becoming a tiger next year. So this summer, not tigers currently this year. So that's the one caveat where you have to have a parent partner with you at all times. And then the final big change for this summer is we are going to be having a pre-check day the Saturday before the camp starts, so that you have the opportunity to come in, do your swim checks, and turn in your health forms, so that unlike in the past, we've had some big, we have to check in the first day, especially with all these changes that we have to do with the temperatures and checking in and questions when you get there. This will help speed up the process a little bit. But we all know that there is sometimes you can't make it, so we'll also have the ability that day of, but the earlier the better. So that's a little bit about our updates for this year. Next, I think we have Alex.
Yeah, so we have a theme for this summer. Alex, you want to introduce that for us?
Muted. Yes, our theme for the summer is one that I've been waiting for a long time. My favorite, superheroes. So anybody that's coming to our metropolis that we call Fireland Scout Reservation, be prepared. We're going to have a great time this summer.
Good deal.
Yes.
Now that theme will be for both our adventure camp and for our Weebles exploration camp, and there's some cool swag things that we've been hyping over the last couple months, but we'll talk about that during our deals section. But then the other big changes that we have, those changes that we talked about are kind of specific for adventure camp. For overnight camp, if you've attended Cub Scout resident camp in the past couple of years, this is kind of the overnight portion of camp, but it's all melded into the adventure camp program. So let's kind of talk about those differences between daytime and overnight, and we'll bring Lori, who's our camp director out at Beaumont for adventure camp, in to talk about that.
Okay. So for our daytime program, it's Monday through Friday. Check-ins will start about 8:30 in the morning, followed by a flag ceremony. Then we will, at Beaumont, we will break out into our rotations. In the morning, we're going to focus on adventure loops, and in the afternoon, we'll focus more on the fun stuff with like BBs and archery and things like that. We do have, instead of a pond at Beaumont, this year we have a pool. And we're going to do pool time right around our lunchtime. Time, so you either go to lunch or you go to the pool, and vice versa. And then we will start closing around 4 o'clock, and pickup starts about 4:30 to 5, depending on the day. Like Brittany said, we are going to be splitting the kids into their ranks this year, and we will really try to keep your packs dens together as much as we can. Lunch will be provided for the daytime program. We're going to be doing adventure lunches in camp. And the early bird price is $150 for the daytime program.
And Natalie, you want to talk a little bit some about the specifics for the adventure camp out at Firelands?
Yeah, so at Firelands, we'll have 4 rotations Monday through Thursday, just to all of your different program areas. And some differences at Firelands is that you're going to be checking in the parking lot outside of the trading post, but pickup will be where we have lunch in the dining hall. And also, since we do have a pond to swim in instead of a swimming pool, you will need closed-toed shoes to go from the shower house where you'll change to the pond.
Awesome. And before we move on to the overnight portion, we do have one question from the chat room. For that pre-check-in day, can one person bring in all the paperwork for their pack, or does each scout have to come in separately to pre-check? And what I'd say for that is we'll work with both. We're hoping to have a swim check portion for that pre-check day. So obviously each scout would have to be present to go through their swim check. But if you're just picking up swag or turning in some paperwork, we may be able to just have one representative. Best if the parents and the scouts are able to come to camp ahead of time and kind of see what to expect and get a rundown of the program from our staff. But if that's not possible, there will be other options. And it looks like Gary has his hand up for one question, so I'll unmute you, Gary, for you to ask your question.
Great, thanks, Jared. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, my quick question is with the one person coming to bring the paperwork, could I, as the swimming merit badge counselor, give the swim check ahead of time with my guys?
Yes, and we ask, please do. You can actually go to, once pools and things open up again, you can do the swim check at any local pool with any lifeguard as long as you use our form, which is on the registration page, and there are instructions for a lifeguard to facilitate that test for your scouts. So the more that you can do ahead of time for camp, that definitely helps everybody out.
Okay, thanks, Jared. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the daytime program. I'm going to toss it back over to Lori to explain the overnight program.
Okay, our overnight program, I'm really excited because we haven't done a resident camp out our way before. So our overnight program is going to be Wednesday evening through Saturday afternoon. During the day on Thursday and Fridays, you were going to participate in the day events, so you'll be part of our daytime program. And then in the evenings, we will have different programs specifically for you guys to do. For this one, you are going to be either camping with your parents or with the pack leaders. We do stress that there does have to be either parents or the pack available to do the overnight camping. And then we will also have extra time in the evenings to go and do more BBs or archeries and the fun stuff that you pick your favorite programs. And in the evenings, we will close out with a campfire program each night, doing skits and fun things like that. And that one is also $150 to do the overnight program.
All right. And Alex, can you talk a little about the overnight program as it relates to Firelands? Any changes there?
Yeah, so it's a much similar format to what Beaumont is doing at theirs. We will be, people that stayed throughout the week will be able to participate in the daytime programs. But specifically relating to Firelands, I know we do a lot of fun stuff like Defend Your Cave in the evenings if you stay, which is basically where everybody goes back to their campsites and they try to build some sort of fortress to defend it. And then the staff comes around with wet sponge balls and we have a big fight. It's a really, really good time. That's pretty much our highlight for the evening one. That's our favorite part of the week. We love doing that one. But there's other things like campfires that you get to experience as well. So it's going to be a great time.
And the other thing I would mention is for those of you who have attended in the past, we'll have both bring your own tent and use our tent options on the Wyandotte side of our property at Firelands. So that will be the preset site for the green monsters, as we affectionately call them. And then the Abraham side will be available for bring your own tents. So we'll have both options available for that overnight program as well. But if you really, really like camping, what are you going to do if you really want to spend the whole week with us, Christy?
If you cannot get enough Cub Scout camp, then we have kind of a combined option for you. You can do the full week program, which basically means Monday and Tuesday, you're going to be a regular day camper. You will come at 8:30, leave around 4 or 5. Then Wednesday, when you get there Wednesday morning, you won't leave again until Saturday afternoon, around lunchtime. So you can get both portions of it. You can have the full time of daytime activities, Monday through Friday, and whole overnight experience. And the whole thing is only $200. And so time-wise, that is an incredible deal. You do need to make sure that if you are being there for that overnight portion, you have a parent or that there's 2 deep leadership from the pack. You can bring your own tent or stay in the ones that we have. But it's the best way to get the most Cub Scout fun you could possibly have.
If you really can't leave your staff members alone, you got to spend the whole week with them. Choose the full week option.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, moving on next to our Weebles Exploration Camp. So a lot of this was adventure camp related. I'm going to pull Alex back in here to talk about what makes Weebles Camp special and a few highlights there.
Yes, so this program recently over the past few years has just exploded with popularity. We decided to have sort of a rougher experience, like a more Scouts BSA-like camp over on the Wyandotte side. And it is just super popular. You get to stay for a longer period of time throughout the week. It's specifically for current bears into Webelos and Webelos into Arrow of Lights. You get to, all overnight, you get to stay on our big side of camp. It's basically a camp that the program helps transition them from a Cub Scouting experience into a Scouts BSA experience. We go more into depth with the patrol method. There's more autonomy. You get to choose what courses you go to and participate in. We have the Scout Skills Triad, which we've named them after the 3 points of the Scout Law: physically strong, mentally awake, morally straight, where you get to participate in a bunch of activities that you will get more exposure to as you go to a Scouts BSA camp. We also have our Tribe of Achua, which is our camp honor program that we do over on the Wyandotte side. Scouts get to experience what our OA ring looks like. It's a really good time. So yeah.
And that Tribe of Achua is actually for our overnight campers at Adventure Camp as well, but they can earn the next levels by continuing to come to the overnight programs. Great. Thank you for that, Alex. Looks like no questions on the Webelos campsites. Let's keep moving on to some just general reminders for our camps. Oh, I'll also mention that that morning program being available on May 1st. If you were one of our early registrants, you'll get some information before the end of the month so that you can choose your scouts can choose their morning programs a little bit early. That was one of the perks for signing up earlier in the year. And if anybody has questions about how to choose those programs, we can post a little tutorial about that through your registration site as well. All right, so I think we're back over to Brittany talking about some general updates and reminders for camps. Brittany, I think you're muted.
We sure are. So early bird deadline, as we were just talking about, is May 1st. That's important for all the camps, especially Webelos, if you're looking to get early registration for your what you're doing that week. As for health forms, day campers need parts A and B, and the overnight campers need part A, B, and C. And C is the physician's signature of physicians on the last page. We know that'll be a little harder in this time. As of right now, try your hardest to get it. We are waiting for some clarification from our national organization. They are taking that into account right now, and we should get some clarification at the beginning of May. So keep on the lookout for some information regarding that if anything changes. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything, but they did say around the 1st we should hear something. As for representation for a PAC for the overnight, when it comes to the overnight, you have to have at least your 2 deep leadership, and they have to both be youth protection trained. And we love more than just the 2, but the minimum is 2. And guess what? Do you know what month it is, Jared?
I do, because I just took the training.
Yep, it is youth protection training month. So if you haven't checked in on your youth protection in a while, this is youth protection month. So head on over to the site and go ahead and take that youth protection. I know I have to, it's on my list of things to do to make sure that I'm ready for the summer coming up. And then for overnight, for if you are bringing girls with you to the overnight, you have to have a female leader. So make sure if you're bringing girls that you have your female leader. And finally, Webelos Camp, adults staying the whole week must be registered with Scouts with the BSA. So those are some general points to hit. Do we have any questions, Jared?
I don't think so. I'll just add a couple 2 cents on that one. One of the questions we had early on was related to the questionnaire on our medical forms. So we're kind of anticipating that there may be an extension given by the National Council on that Part C, since we know it's difficult to get. Again, we won't know until later in May, but we'll make sure everybody knows as soon as we do. But the question was about whether there'll be COVID-19 positive questions added to the health form. I haven't heard anything like that, but that will be part of our screening process, asking about symptoms as you come into camp. As Phil mentioned, you'll want to be checking your temperature ahead of time before coming to camp. We'll check temperatures of campers and guests as they arrive, and we'll also be asking those kind of 5 specific questions. Have you had these symptoms in the last 24 hours? Have you had them in the last 10 days? So that'll be part of our screening process as people come into camp, not necessarily on the official BSA medical form. And that one question that we get pretty often and related to adult leaders and parents coming to camp, if you are intending to come to camp with just your scout, your son or your daughter, and the rest of your pack is not coming with you, that's something that we can still work with. Just let us know ahead of time so that we can group you together with other small packs to meet those leadership requirements. And we can still work with that. So don't say no to camp if the rest of your pack isn't coming. There are plenty of people that come with just their parents and daughters so that they can come and experience a fantastic program with us. Looks like we want a quick clarification on our parents who are not registered leaders allowed to come to camp with their Scout for Webelos Camp if they take YPT. Okay, so the Webelos Camp specific, that last point here on our slide, if they're coming for the entire week, that goes over our 72-hour limit put in place by the National Council. If you have adults that are attending activities 72 hours or more, and that doesn't have to be consecutive, they do need to be registered fully with the pack, which means they need to go through the background check and complete youth protection training. So that's why that is in place for Webelos Camp. It's over that 72-hour limit. If there's a parent that's coming to Webelos Camp, they would need to be registered as well. And looks like Annie has a question. Does a pack need a female leader for overnight camp if every female scout has a male parent who is also staying the night as a YP trained leader? So if it's a one-to-one thing where your parents are coming with each of their individual scouts, I would say let's talk more one-on-one on that. This sounds kind of like a unique situation on whether or not we need female leaders for that. Yeah, that may be a specific question that we have. All right.
We got a few more, Jared. A couple on Facebook and one in the texting.
Okay, so looking at Jason Urban, Mark's email mentioned that it's highly likely that camp will over later. Will everything be delayed? We mentioned this at the beginning of our meeting tonight. We are considering moving back Adventure Camp to later in July, and we love some feedback on that. We don't have anything to announce right now as far as the full summer camp schedule. In fact, we don't know exactly if we'll be doing that for Adventure Camp either, but we'd love the feedback from your parents, and then we'll be able to make our official announcement on May 1st. From the Stouts, do we need to have a medical Part C if we're only going to be at resident camp for 2 nights? So on the frequently asked questions page for the BSA medical form, it does specify that if you're attending a resident camp, that Part C is required. So if you're attending as an adult for that, even though just for the 2 nights, that Part C would be required, yes. It looks like on Facebook, Veronica's asking, adults staying overnight are included towards the leadership count? Yes, since they will be officially registered with BSA. So yes, adults can count towards your leadership requirements. You need to have at least 2 registered leaders with YPT, but then other adults do count towards your ratio of adult to camper. So yes. And then finally, adults staying for camp need to be registered for camp or BSA registered. So anybody that's coming to camp definitely has to be on your camp registration because we got to know who's coming to camp ahead of time. As far as being fully registered with the PAC as a member of the BSA, again, that would be if they're going over that 72-hour limit like at Weeblos Camp or to meet the 2 deep leadership requirement for PACs that are attending. And then we had one more, and then I think we'll be able to move on to our special deals portion. Is there a fee for parents and leaders to attend with the Scouts? Yes, there is an adult leader or a parent fee that goes with our camp programs, and we'll talk about how that kind of works in our next section. But all the prices and things are listed on our website for each of the camp programs. They're different for the different levels of overnight, daytime, and Weeblos Camp. If you're visiting for just a couple hours, that would be a different situation. But if you're attending the camp as a participant, such as staying overnight or staying for meals and things, then you need to be registered as a member attending camp. Great questions, everybody. I think we're caught up there. So I'm going to toss this back over to Christy, who's going to talk about some special deals that are new this summer that we're pretty excited about.
All right, thank you. So one of the things that we have for our deals is that PACs who register at least 25% of their Scouts for camp are going to get 25% off of the fee for all of those people who are attending. Adults who volunteer as a camp leader with the staff all week are going to have their full camp fee refunded. You will still have to pay your fee to sign up for camp, but once you've shown up for the whole week, we will refund that. Siblings can receive a $25 discount on their attendance. So Johnny comes and pays the full fee, and Sally, his little sister, comes and pays $25 less than that. Scouts attending multiple sessions of camp will also get a $25 discount. So if you wanted to go for 1 full week, you pay the full price. Even without a sibling, you go the next week, you pay $25 less. You can get a free adult if you bring a bigger group of kids from your PAC. So 2 to 4 Scouts gets 1 free adult. 5 to 9 Scouts gets 2 free adults, that kind of thing. We also have some, for Weeblos Camp, you can earn 25% off if you bring half of your Weeblos in. So you've got 8 Weeblos and 4 of them are gonna come to camp. They'll each get 25% off. We have monthly promotions depending on when you sign up for camp. April is what we're in right now, and the April promotion is that if you sign up for camp in April, your dinner pack is gonna get some decorations for their campsite, and that'll be pretty exciting. You'll have to come and see what it is. Anything else we did not cover for that? Good on discounts?
I think that's great. We believe really strongly in our program, so that's why we're excited to try and get as many people as possible to come in for both Adventure Camp and Weeblos Camp, and it's a bigger party if more of your Scouts can attend with them. So that's why we have those membership kind of goalposts to meet to get those discounts. And that applies to both your campers and your adults. The way that gets applied to your registration is you just need to reach out to the camp director, myself or Lori will put you in the right direction. and let us know, hey, we've got 6 Webelos and we're bringing 5 of them, so we're over that threshold. We're just going to verify for you and then apply that discount to your registration. So everybody will get that all at once. And if you add more people to your registration after that, you'll still get the 25% off for those additional campers as well. All these kind of discounts are laid out on our website in the pricing section for both Adventure Camp and Webelos. So there's a little bit more information there.
Looks like you got a question about Webelos. Or Webelos Camp, do bears count as Webelos for the discount? So people who are currently bears and are Webelos, this is all as of June 1st, right? So if a bear now is a Webelo as of June 1st, that's in your count.
Yeah, and it'll be a little bit tricky this summer since the National Council extended that rank deadline to July 31st. So we'll be a little bit, we'll be flexible on that as well, on how you're registering, whether it's a bear going into Webelos or if it's a bear attending as a bear, so they can finish up their rank. But just reach out to us individually. We'll work with you and make sure you get the right discount. Oh, and we're also doing monthly drawings. So we'll be doing one for April as well. So everybody that's registered for camp up to the end of the month will be eligible for a full campership when we've been doing one each of those for both Avenger Camp and Webelos Camp every month. That 25% discount is applied as soon as you reach out to us and we see that we have you've met that threshold on your registration. We'll apply that to your camp registration. You'll see it immediately. And then finally, how do we register Den Chiefs for Adventure Camp since they are free? So there is a Den Chief section on the camp registration. You get your first Den Chief for free, and then if you have others attending as well, they pay the adult rate, not the youth rate, which is kind of nice. So when you're putting together your registration, just choose the Den Chief option for those scouts that are helping out your adults and the scouts attending camp. Thank you so much, Christy. And our last section here, this will be a little bit of a recap of what was mentioned earlier tonight and in our Scout Executive's email last Friday. I just want to go briefly over some of the specific logistic changes that we'll be putting into place to make sure we have a safe and healthy summer for us. So we'll kind of lay out what each of these mean and give you a little bit more details on what we're thinking and how we're keeping each other safe. So Brittany, I think you've got this first one.
Yes, and Gary has a question, has his hands up. Gary, do you have a question about the last section?
All I had was a quick question from one of my Webelo dads, since it's our first time going to Webelo camp. Do we need to bring tents for Webelo camp?
That is up to you. We will have tents put up on the site, but
Okay,
if
perfect.
you let us know on the registration that you want to bring your own, then you can bring your own. That's fine.
No, and that's good, and appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Sure thing. I like the easy ones.
Yes, those are good. Okay, so we're going to start off food service. This is a big one. So we are eliminating all self-service options for the summer. At Beaumont, we've done a lot of family style, but there will be no self-service during meals. So that includes beverages and salad bar. And all serving will be done by trained staff. So it won't be a self-serve. It won't be on the tables. It'll be served by trained staff.
We've been working close. Our food service director, Chef Bill out at Beaumont, has been working closely with the health departments in our areas and keeping on top of what's recommended by the state as far as when it comes to food service. One of the questions we had earlier on is, are we considering doing split meals to kind of limit the number of people in our dining halls? At this point, that hasn't been a recommendation by the health department, but it is something that we've talked about internally. So we're prepared to make that change if we need to kind of, do our social distancing in one of the more higher concentration of people on camps. So that is something that we're considering and talking through specifically.
And as for Beaumont, we'll be doing adventure day camp. We'll be doing adventure lunches. So we'll be doing those down at Camp, and we'll be able to spread out a little bit more than if we were in a dining hall.
Awesome. So our second one here is water bottles. We always encourage campers to bring a water bottle to camp, but it'll be even more important this summer as we try to eliminate or limit the number of cups that are more hands touching. So you'll want to bring a water bottle to camp. We'll have additional water filling stations throughout the properties, and we'll do our best to make those as hands-free as possible. The other thing I'd mention there is our typical igloos and coffee dispensers. Those will be changing as well, so that we can, again, have trained staff and limit the number of people that are going up to those stations. So we'll have individual cups that are one per person that we can hand out for those things rather than everybody going up and touching it.
As for check-in screening, we've talked a little bit about this. Actually, Phil went into quite a bit of detail earlier. But upon arriving at camp, not just participants, but staff and participants, and even the families making the drop-off will be screened and their temperatures will be taken. And anybody who doesn't pass those, the questions or the temperature, will be refused entry and asked to go home. We want to make sure everybody's safe, and the only way we know how to do it is to check those temperatures, ask those questions, making sure that everybody's safe. We are working through figuring out the questions that we need to ask. We do have a council physician that we work really closely with, so he is helping us figure out what we need to do to keep everybody going forward and straight and healthy.
As Phil mentioned, it'll be important for everybody to be proactive about that. So going through those symptom lists and checking your temperatures before you come to camp. We don't want to have to send somebody home upon arrival. Just give us a call ahead of time and say we're not going to be coming to camp that day. If you become sick at camp, that participant will be sent home along with their tent mate if any symptoms are showing from COVID-19. You want to make sure that your parents understand this going into it in case they need to quickly pick up their kid from camp. This will be a pretty strict procedure. We don't want to have any viruses spread throughout camp if it's there. So our health lodges and our health officers will again have a procedure that's laid out by our council physician on what constitutes being sent home and any quarantine that we'd have to do for that.
So as for visitors, all visitors it's going to be a must for them to check in upon arrival, and they'll go through those same screenings that anybody else coming into camp would have been going through. Anybody who fails those will be asked to not enter and go home. We're considering a variety of different options. We probably are going to end up limiting the ability to leave camp at night, just because it'll be very hard. If somebody comes in the middle of the night, they're still going to need to be going through those same check-ins, and we want to make sure that we're consistent in what we're doing. So that's for visitors or anybody leaving and entering.
Our next one kind of goes along with that, family night activities. We love family night. We love when our siblings and our grandparents and everybody can come and experience some of the camp program. Unfortunately, that won't be something that's feasible this year. Large-scale family events won't be possible to do the proper screening. So that is something that's going to be eliminated for this summer. We hope to bring it back in the future. But those family nights and family mornings that we've loved in the past, unfortunately, just won't be possible for our programs this summer. So encourage your scouts to take plenty of pictures. We've been doing some send home videos. We'll try to continue to do programs like that so they can take something home of their camp experience.
Hand washing. This is what we talk about all the time nowadays. It's key and extremely important, even at summer camp this year. Washing hands will be important. We'll be reminding everybody often, frequently, and throughout the week, the days. Participants will be asked directly to wash their hands, and we're adding additional hand washing and sanitizing stations. That's a tongue twister there. Throughout our camps. I know we were talking today, we ordered at least 100 sanitizing dispensing machines, maybe more at this point for our camps.
Yeah, our properties manager, Bill Roloff, has been working really hard to get that set up for us because we know it's going to be important for the foreseeable future. So every campsite will have a sanitizing station. There'll be plenty more hand washing stations around camp. And you'll see that really built into the program for this summer. Mm-hmm. We're going to be washing our hands. We're also going to be washing our facilities. So our shower houses and our restrooms, those high touch areas, those will be receiving more regular and more additional cleaning sessions. So we'll be cleaning those 3 times a day. We're actually looking at hiring a kind of a cleaning crew whose sole job is to go around camp and sanitize the high touch areas. You'll see program areas that have their own specific checklist of things that are touched often by many different campers, and having those sanitized each day, you know, be able to help keep us accountable by seeing that we've done that each day. So we'll see checklists and things around camp. We just want to build that into the program so it's something that everybody's thinking about, and nobody forgets to keep themselves or our facilities clean.
Mhm. And that goes along with lodging cleaning. So camp provided lodging, like tents and cabins, be disinfected before new participants arrive. This also throughout the week will encourage everybody to make sure that they're keeping their areas clean and disinfected.
So this is a big one, protective gear. This is something that we're still reviewing and looking for recommendations from our state. But I'll just put the bug in your ear that just like we recommend water bottles to come to camp, we'll likely be recommending that you bring face masks and gloves as your own personal protective equipment. We're talking about bringing or having our staff wear face masks each day if that's recommended for those high proximity areas, such as your flag fields, your dining halls, where we're closer in contact. So if you are trying to be proactive, I would say try to get those ahead of time, but we'll have more recommendation going forward on what will be recommended or required to come to camp.
And as for all the camp equipment that we use throughout the summer, there's tons and tons of equipment. We'll properly sanitize all community and reusable program equipment after each use. We're working to create systems to make sure that we are making sure everything is cleaned down and repeatedly throughout the day, the week, the summer. That's about it.
So that was a lot of information. Again, you've seen some of this through our Scout Executives email. You'll continue to see this from us. We want to make sure that we're very clear about the procedures that we're thinking about and what we have in place. As soon as anything is decided, that'll be sent out by our Scout Executive. We covered a lot of information here tonight, so we did want to open this back up to any questions that didn't get answered, any concerns that didn't get addressed. If it's something that we're not able to answer here tonight, we will bring it back to our team and make sure that we have a great answer, solution, plan going forward. So any last questions before we move on into the rest of our evenings? Finally, we have one question that I've been waiting for all night. Why the life jacket? Thank you, Ryan.
Yes.
So for those of you who have been following along the past, feels like a lifetime, but it's been about a month and a half now that we've been doing our Scouting at Home programs. We're doing daily den meetings for each of our levels of Cub Scouts. So today we did the floats and boats adventure for our Tigers, and that was right before this meeting, and I just enjoyed my life jacket because it makes me feel like I'm ready for camp. Thanks, Ryan. Is there anybody else out there with a question? If you want to raise your hand, put it into our chat box or the Facebook comments. I'd be happy to answer them here. We'll also post these slides to our website. This video will be available at the end of the evening, or sorry, it will be available after we close here tonight, both on Facebook, and we'll post it to our website as well. So that is available. Ooh, looks like Gary has his hand up again. Go ahead, Gary.
No, Jared, I want to just commend you guys for everything you're doing. Keep up the good work. Whatever you need from us, adult leaders, we'll be more than happy to help out. But I can't commend you and your staff enough for what you're doing, because right now I think all the kids, and I'm not gonna lie, I need summer camp. I need to be out there at camp too. So we appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting in now.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. We're having a lot of fun doing it.
Keep it up.
Appreciate it. We had one question from Jason Urban. Do we have a plan for sanitizing the climbing wall and the blob? That is something that we're thinking about. We're working with our climbing directors, and I believe there are some national climbing associations that are kind of putting out some recommendations on those types of things. It may be that we're wearing gloves and then sanitizing right after. I think that we'll have to be kind of aware that it'll be impossible to sanitize or keep our hands off of anything that could be, it could have virus on it or have germs on it. But we are thinking about those programs areas in particular and what needs to be sanitized, what needs to be put away, and how we have a plan for each of those program areas. Yeah. I think that does it as far as our questions for this evening. Our team that's here tonight, Christy, Lori, Brittany.
Hold on,
Alex.
Jared.
Oh.
Clarification. Please clarify overnight camp, when do they check in? Wednesday AM and participate in activities all day Wednesday or Wednesday evening?
So if they are an overnight camper, they would come in Wednesday afternoon. So their first full day would be Thursday. They'll come in the afternoon, set up your campsite, and then be ready for evening programs on Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I believe you said around 4.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Good question. All right, if anything else comes up, feel free to shoot us an email, or we'll be watching this Facebook video over the next day or so if there are more questions there. But I want to thank everybody for their time tonight and spending the last hour with us as we kind of lay out our plan for the summer. And I hope you guys are excited to get back out, as excited to get back outside as we are, and know that we're still committed to planning a great program for all of you and your scouts. Our team here, thank you so much for the time that you're putting in to make sure that we have a great plan going forward. And it's always a pleasure working with you all. All right, on that note, we'll say goodnight. Bye, everybody.